one of the UK's major ports. For the last century, Southampton has been the home to famous ships such as the Titanic, Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth. This tradition continues with ships such as the Queen Mary II, Queen Elizabeth II and the Queen Victoria. Southampton has become the largest cruise ship port in the UK, with some of the largest cruise ships calling here. Operated by companies such as P&O Cruises, Cunard and Royal Caribbean. Southampton is also a very large port for cargo traffic and sees many tons of containers and general cargo offloaded here. Ships are controlled by the port controller, who controls the ships in the area using radio and can see exactly where the vessels are by using radar and AIS. Nowadays, with the advent of modern technology, everyone can use AIS and a laptop to see the positions of the ships and can see exactly what the port controller is looking at.
BTS, Ocean C, BTS. That's ready, Hawaii, please.
The origins of this historic port can be traced back over 100 years, and its natural attributes include small tidal ranges, prolonged periods of very high water, and an unusual double tide. This allows today's largest passenger and cargo vessels to enter and leave the port at any given time during the day or night without relying on tides. So join with us, if you will, and take a fascinating look at this incredibly versatile port. Over the last century, Southampton Docks has played host to many famous ships and shipping companies, such as Cunard's Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, and of course the White Star Line's Titanic. During World War I and World War II, the port became very active and was an important strategic staging post for embarkation of troops and equipment to war-torn Europe. Today's embarkations are of a different need and involve sun-seeking passengers from all over the United Kingdom. They arrive and depart in their thousands each year from this great port. Nowadays, with the resurgence of the cruise ship industry, travel by sea has yet again become a popular means of travelling the world. In fact, the port today is one of the UK's largest commercial seaports, handling not only the cruise ship industry, but also general cargo for destinations in Europe and indeed the rest of the world. This was the White Star Dock, once bustling with passengers and dock workers. From this very dock, the greatest liner of them all, White Star Line's Titanic, set sail from Berth 44 on her maiden voyage to New York for the first and last time. She was later to take her place in maritime history when she struck an iceberg on the 14th of April 1912, and tragically sank the next day in the icy cold waters of the North Atlantic. Approximately 1,520 souls perished, 549 of them from Southampton. Almost a century later, Southampton still remembers this tragedy, and in memory and respect has several memorials within the city to those lost in the disastrous events of the 15th of April 1912. Canute Chambers on Canute Road is perhaps the most poignant reminder of that disaster. It was here that anxious relatives of the crewmen came for information about what had happened. This beautiful monument commemorates Titanic's officers and engineers. The names on the memorial include Thomas Andrews, who was the designer of the ship, and Harland and Wolff, who built her. A stone's throw away is a memorial to those musicians who played their last lament, "Nearer My God to Thee," as Titanic slipped beneath the icy waves. Originally a drinking fountain, this memorial is to the stewards, crew and firemen of Titanic. Interestingly, the site contains a talking post, where by pressing buttons you can hear different aspects of the story of the Titanic.
See if my father had by any chance.
Just a minute's walk from the port is the Grapes pub, where 4 members of Titanic's crew, including 3 brothers, left the premises late to board Titanic, but instead found themselves refused entry to the ship as it was about to leave the quay. In this instance, it was better to be late in this world than early in the next. As you would expect, the pub is adorned with memorabilia relating to the loss of Titanic. Just around the corner can be found this former Southwestern Hotel, which in 1912 would have accommodated first-class passengers, including some millionaires, and Mr. Bruce Ismay of the White Star Line. They would have stayed here the night before Titanic left Southampton for its maiden voyage. During these early years at Southampton, prominent shipping companies such as the Union Castle Line and Cunard would sail from here with passengers, cargo and the Royal Mail. Destinations such as South America and Cape Town in South Africa were well visited, shipping companies being awarded contracts to carry the Royal Mail to these far-flung and exotic destinations. Today, the former Union Castle Line building proudly stands in testimony to this great company. During this time, dockside workers would often affectionately refer to Union Castle vessels as lavender ladies because of their lavender-painted hulls. Indeed, Union Castle ships were admired for their outline appearance and impeccable departure timings, 4 p.m. on Thursdays. It was said that you could set your watch by a departing Union Castle Line ship. Other famous ocean liners such as P&O's Canberra would, like today, have been seen together with the Cunard ships such as Caronia, Queen Elizabeth and the Queen Mary. A popular location for visitors to view the ships departing and arriving is here at Mayflower Park. It sits close to the water's edge at the River Test and is an ideal location to glimpse such famous ships as the Queen Mary II, the QE2 and various other cruise ships. As we can see, cargo vessels also play an integral part of port operations. Southampton Container Terminal can accommodate the world's largest container vessels, and cargo vessels can regularly be seen sailing these waters. Here, Maersk Kampala, an 80,967 gross ton container vessel, is being assisted by 2 harbour tugboats on its departure. In the 1960s, the Port of Southampton was one of the first to provide facilities for the newly developed cargo transport, the container ship. The 1950s and 60s were a time of great innovation, particularly in the advent of the container ship, in which Britain was a leading pioneer. These huge ships are a near everyday occurrence here at Southampton, and the Los Angeles Express is no exception, weighing in at some 75,590 gross tons. She is capable of carrying 6,750 containers. Hapag-Lloyd deploys approximately 142 container ships across 5 regions of the world. On the western side of Southampton Water is Marchwood Military Port, which is home to the Royal Fleet Auxiliary. The base became very active as a staging post in 1982, when Argentina invaded the Falkland Islands, seeing such famous ships as Sir Tristram, which was nearly sunk by Argentinian bombs, and the Sir Galahad. These ships, like today's, acted as roll-on, roll-off ferries for military vehicles and personnel. Here the 16,160-ton Mounts Bay, a logistics transport, troops and landing vessel, slowly departs the jetty. Ex-P&O Ned Lloyd container ship, the 80,640 gross ton Maersk Kythera, gracefully enters Southampton water with stern and bow tugs in assistance. Over the 100 years or so, Southampton has seen many types and variants of ships such as steamers. To the left can be seen the remains of the Royal Pier, and it was from here in the 1800s that steamers ferried passengers to the Channel Islands and the Isle of Wight. During the 1970s, this pier became unsafe, and it was finally closed in 1982. Although the port is well known for its passenger activities, there is a considerable amount of cargo traffic as well, making the port very diverse for all kinds of shipping. As the sun rises over Southampton, that diversity can be seen here as Red Funnel's Red Jet 2 departs Town Quay for its high-speed run to East Cowes on the Isle of Wight. Red Funnel has a long, distinguished and colourful history spanning almost 150 years. It also operates a vehicle ferry service to the Isle of Wight and has 3 purpose-built roll-on, roll-off ferries. The high-speed run for Red Jet 2 will take approximately 23 minutes over the 12 nautical miles to West Cowes. As Red Jet 2 storms away from the Town Quay, we notice a smaller but no less important vessel. This is the Hythe Ferry, Great Expectations, which operates a half-hourly service between Town Quay, Southampton, and Hythe Pier. There's been a service from Hythe to Southampton for hundreds of years, and in the past, royalty from other nations have used the pier and ferry. As mentioned earlier, Red Funnel vessels include these roll-on, roll-off vehicle ferries. This one is departing Southampton for East Cowes and will have a journey time of approximately 55 minutes. The vessels have on-board amenities such as a games area, outside deck and cafeteria. Southampton has for many years been home to some of the world's largest and most beautiful cruise ships and cruise liners, sailing to more than 75 countries worldwide. Approximately 500,000 passengers embark each year from this historic port. One such beautiful ship is this, Princess Cruises Grand Princess. When Princess Cruises took delivery in 1998, this ship was the largest in the world, carrying some 2,600 passengers. I think you'll agree she still looks very impressive at 10 years old, and is still a match for much bigger vessels in her class to date. Returning from an around the British Isles cruise, Grand Princess's pilot takes her steady as she goes, entering Southampton water, and prepares to turn at the upper swinging ground. The 109,000-ton vessel looks very impressive as the pilot orders the helmsman to gently manoeuvre the ship to the dock face of berth 106. With the advent of bow and stern thrusters, manoeuvring these giants laterally has eased considerably and made berthing at ports very efficient, although in adverse weather conditions the pilot may still call upon the assistance of tugboats. As she edges slowly towards us, her size is now very apparent. These really are floating palaces, and one can easily imagine by looking at her graceful bow lines that cruising the seas in such a vessel is an experience never to be forgotten. Ever closer now, and stevedores prepare to receive Grand Princess's bow ropes for tying up and a safe ship-to-shore transfer. This operation will also be taking place at the stern of the ship. In the distance can be seen P&O's cruise ship Arcadia. She will be going alongside berth 38-39 for disembarking. The atrium of any cruise ship is often known as the crossroads, from which to explore other parts of the ship, and as you would expect, the Grand Princess's atrium is grand indeed. It's a great location on the ship in which to sit, relax, and to plan your day ahead, or contemplate some retail therapy. The onboard ships cater for most tastes, including those all-important gift items. If you are planning to wed whilst at sea, then the services within the Grand Princess rival any of those found on shore. the Grand Princess has many diverse and interesting ways for passengers to relax, indulge and enjoy their perfect cruise. A selection of indoor and outdoor pools await those wishing to cool off or to simply lounge in the sun. For the ladies, the Lotus Spa is a therapy for both the mind and body, and for the men, an excellent gym rivals even those found on shore. Other amazing amenities on board include movies under the stars, a 300 square foot open air movie screen giving fantastic visibility even on bright and sunny days. Whilst at sea, the captain's bridge is a hive of activity, and as we can see, the visibility is uninterrupted. Duplicate wing control panels are situated at the port and starboard side of the bridge for controlling the vessel laterally whilst berthing at harbour ports. Known to Southampton waters are the magnificent cruise ships of P&O Cruises, and here Arcadia has just returned to her home port from a breathtaking 14-day cruise to the Baltics. P&O were the pioneers of cruising, and their maritime history dates back as far as 1837. Today the 11-hour turnaround will see Arcadia setting sail for the warm waters of the Western Mediterranean. As crew members take time out before their departure, the Old Thumper jazz band plays to the expectant passengers. While the last remaining passengers are still boarding, the rest of the ship's crew are preparing to set sail. Here, inflatable life rafts are being loaded aboard the ship, and shortly afterwards passengers will be getting briefed on how to don their life jackets in the event of an emergency at sea. As the 3,497 gross ton Sand Weaver, a port dredger, and a vehicle transporter pass close by, Arcadia's gangways and boarding gantries have been safely stowed. All it takes now is for the bow and stern ropes to be removed from the dock bollards, and she's ready to get underway. With the advent of the commercial airliner and huge rises in fuel costs during the late 1960s and 70s, many great liners were destined for the breaker's yard and ultimately the cutter's torch. But since the 1990s, the resurgence of the cruise ship industry has brought a fresh and appealing way to travel the globe. As in years gone by, huge liners are once again being built, and so the Port of Southampton will continue to accommodate some of the world's largest and most prestigious cruise ships and liners. It is customary for vessels leaving port to indicate to others their intentions, so short and long blasts on the whistle are made. This sound signal indicates I am going astern and then to starboard. Most of Southampton's cruise ships depart the port at 5 p.m, and the Grand Princess is no exception. She is heading for the North Cape and the spectacular Norwegian fjords. It is 6:30 a.m. on a June morning, and we are at Town Quay, another popular location for viewing ships such as the Queen Mary and the Queen Victoria. Indeed, from here you can see the Queen Elizabeth II cruise terminal situated on the eastern docks. As we observe the arrival of P&O's cruise ship Aurora, we can but imagine how the great liners of yesteryear must have looked, sailing in from far distant shores. Note the retractable platforms in which crew members are stationed. They act as lookouts and to fill in bridge blind spots when the ship is near to docking at the berth. Safety is paramount at this particular point, and recreational users of the port, like the ship's crew, must take every care to avoid collisions. The refuelling of these enormous ships is carried out by bunker tanker ships. They get their name from the containers that are situated within the ship's hull, better known as bunker tanks. Recently, this double-hulled tanker ship, the Wittonia, has been contracted out for refuelling duties at the port. The largest bunker tanker to be based in UK waters, she weighs in 6,000 tonnes and is capable of delivering fuel at a rate of 1,000 tonnes an hour. She will become a familiar sight at Southampton. Fuel supplies come from the nearby Fawley oil refineries, just a few miles southwest of the port. As we turn our camera south, we are greeted with a splendid view of P&O Cruises' Oriana, together with Grand Quest, a roll-on roll-off car carrier, being assisted by tugs into Ocean Dock. Oriana is returning after a 14-day cruise around the Norwegian fields, and will be docked at berth 3839, the Queen Elizabeth II terminal. Again, note the retractable platforms on the upper bow. As she makes her turn to starboard, at the designated lower swinging ground, we can clearly see the dock cranes at berth 3839. These designated swinging grounds enable vessels to turn safely without running aground. There are 4 such areas in Southampton waters. Before taking a dockside look at Aurora, let us take a closer look at Oriana, as dockside stevedores prepare her for another exciting cruise. She's slightly smaller and older than Aurora, but still retains wonderful interior designs and luxuriously accommodating cabins. Again, like all P&O cruise ships, she's lovingly cared for and always looks immaculate. As Aurora prepares to set sail for yet another cruise, note the railway tracks. These were once heavily used and formed an extensive rail network within the port. The dockside cranes were used to load and unload the myriad of goods from around the world, in addition to passenger baggage. Indeed, they can still be seen working from time to time. Nowadays, with the introduction of modern loading techniques, machines such as these purpose-built baggage conveyors are used extensively at ports throughout the UK. Before heading back to the Queen Elizabeth II terminal and berth 3839, let us take a closer look at some other shipping movements, including this Dutch-owned multi-purpose cargo ship, which today is transporting smaller watercraft into the port. UECC operates a fleet of 16 vessels designed and adapted specifically for the European short sea routes. This is the 7,069 gross tons auto-transporter, capable of carrying some 700 vehicles. For many years, Southampton has seen huge increases in the importing of vehicles for the British market. The first shipment of vehicles from abroad began in the 1960s and has flourished ever since. From berth 3839, the 94,483 gross ton Houston Express is seen passing the Oriana, which will shortly be embarking for the Adriatic. At this point, the shipping traffic becomes somewhat more intense before Oriana finally sets sail. As you would expect, the UK's second largest container terminal sees a considerable amount of container traffic, and here the 88,493 gross tons Hamburg Express makes its way to the terminal with a stern tug and a running tug. To release the bow ropes, the dockside stevedores work together as a team to unhook the enormous bow ropes from the bollard. Using sound signals once again, she sounds her whistle to let others know of her intentions. As Oriana makes her way south down Southampton Water, her sister, Aurora, is also making headway. On a cold and damp morning in June, Princess Cruises' Sea Princess quietly slips into Southampton Water and readies herself for the docking procedure. She will first turn around at the upper swinging ground. Just after returning from a cruise around the Western Mediterranean, she will once again, after an 11-hour turnaround, be making her way back to the warm waters of this very popular holiday destination. As the dockside stevedores prepare to receive the bow ropes, the bunker ship Wittonia can be seen making her way alongside, ready to refuel the Sea Princess. Shown here is a typical example of ABP's commitment to team effort, as scenes such as these are common amongst Southampton's port practices. Whilst the ship is being safely moored and passengers' baggage taken off, let us take a brief look at what arriving and expectant passengers will be greeted with when boarding a Princess Cruises ship. As you enter the beautiful atrium of Sea Princess, you immediately know you've arrived somewhere very special. Cruise ships these days are superbly outfitted and are comparable to any five-star hotels found on shore. Indeed, the service and amenities on board are considered first class in any area, from entertainment to dining. These incredible ships surpass all expectations every time you board. Here at Mayflower Cruise Terminal all appears quiet, but in a few short hours this will be a place of intense activity as passengers depart and arrive at the terminal for boarding. Southampton has 3 such passenger cruise terminals: the Mayflower, City and Queen Elizabeth II, all staffed by proud professionals of the Associated British Ports and its subsidiary companies. As mentioned earlier, the port staff work as a team, allowing them to provide a professional and friendly service. Taking a well-deserved break before the arrival of new and excited passengers, the terminal soon comes to life again with people whose thoughts of far distant shores and luxurious surroundings will soon be a reality. You're greeted warmly by all the staff that are committed to making sure your dream cruise starts as it will end, with complete satisfaction. While inquiries will sort out any problems you may be having, once you've checked in, you can then proceed to the boarding lounge to wait your call to board the ship. With all the passengers now safely on board, the Sea Princess is ready for her cruise, and so it is for the Navigator of the Seas. She belongs to Royal Caribbean International and is one of the largest ships afloat, weighing in at 138,279 gross tons and capable of carrying 3,114 passengers. With her powerful bow thrusters assisting, she slowly slips starboard to clear the berth. The Sea Princess weighs in at 77,000 gross tons and can accommodate some 2,272 passengers.